What happens when the person you insult thinks they don't understand your language? What happens when the immigrant waiter you treat like furniture actually speaks perfect English and hears every condescending word you say? This isn't just a hypothetical scenario. This is the explosive reality that unfolds nightly in restaurants across the country, and the consequences are more dramatic than you could ever imagine. We've all been there, speaking freely in front of service workers as if they're part of the decor rather than human beings with ears and intelligence. But what if I told you that this casual cruelty often comes back to haunt people in the most spectacular ways? This true story reveals the dangerous assumption that the working class is somehow less observant, less intelligent, or less capable of understanding the world around them. I'm about to share an emotional story that will make you rethink every interaction you've ever had with a waiter, cleaner, or service employee. This isn't just another inspirational tale. This is a raw, real-life human drama about the silent revenge of the invisible and how one immigrant waiter turned the tables on powerful men who never saw him coming. Get ready to discover how a single insult overheard in a restaurant led to a chain of events that would destroy a corporate conspiracy, save a family business, and prove that sometimes the quietest people in the room hold all the power. By the end of this video, you'll never look at service workers the same way again. You know, there's a particular kind of invisibility that comes with being a service worker with an accent. People assume you're not just cleaning their table, you're also not processing their words. This is the silent reality for millions of immigrant stories playing out in restaurants, hotels, and offices every single day. The working class often becomes a captive audience to conversations they were never meant to hear, and that's where our storytelling goldmine begins. Meet Diego, a 32-year-old waiter from Colombia working at the Silver Spoon, one of those pretentious restaurants where the wine costs more than his weekly rent. Now, here's the thing about real life in upscale establishments. The customers often forget that the person refilling their water glass is actually a human being with ears, intelligence, and feelings. Diego's journey was one of those quiet human dramas where dignity and disrespect collide nightly. If you've ever worked in service, you know the dance I'm talking about. The tight smile when someone snaps their fingers at you, the deep breath you take when a customer complains about trivialities. The key to surviving with your soul intact is to develop what I call professional detachment. You hear everything, but you choose what sticks. For Diego, this meant perfecting the art of being present yet invisible, a skill many domestic workers master out of necessity. Tonight's shift started like any other. White tablecloths, soft jazz, the clinking of fine china. Table 7 was occupied by 3 businessmen in expensive suits, already on their second bottle of Cabernet. Diego approached with his practiced, "Good evening, gentlemen," and received the usual dismissive nod. But what he didn't expect was to become the unwilling audience to a conversation that would test every ounce of his professionalism and humanity. As Diego carefully placed their appetizers, the man in the power tie, let's call him Mr. Hamilton, leaned forward and said something that would change the entire evening. "Don't worry about him." He chuckled, nodding toward Diego. "These people don't understand a word we're saying. It's like having a trained monkey serving us." The other men laughed, completely unaware that Diego understood every syllable perfectly. This moment in our true story reveals the ugly underbelly of privilege meeting working-class reality. What happened next was a masterclass in emotional control. Diego's face remained perfectly neutral, his hands steady as he arranged the plates. Inside, though, a fire ignited, that particular blend of humiliation and rage that domestic workers know all too well. But here's where the inspirational part begins. Instead of reacting, Diego started listening more carefully. Sometimes the greatest power lies not in what you say, but in what you choose to do with what you hear. Now, here's a practical life lesson for anyone who's ever been insulted or underestimated. Information is power. When people think you're not listening, they reveal their true selves. Diego suddenly realized he had been handed a weapon far more powerful than any retort, the weapon of their unguarded conversation. As he moved to the next table, he caught snippets of their discussion. A merger, some questionable accounting, a rival company being sabotaged. The rest of their meal became an intelligence-gathering mission. With each trip to the table, more bread, another bottle, dessert menus, Diego pieced together their plan. They were discussing how to illegally drive a small family-owned competitor out of business by spreading false rumors about food safety. This wasn't just rude dinner talk. This was a human drama with real victims, and Diego suddenly found himself in possession of information that could save someone's livelihood. For the next hour, Diego served their table with robotic precision while his mind raced through the possibilities. He could confront them, but that would accomplish nothing except getting himself fired. He could report them to the restaurant manager, but rich customers are always believed over immigrant waiters. This is the agonizing position so many emotional stories hinge upon. Knowing something important, but having no socially acceptable way to act on it. What's fascinating about moments like these is how they reveal our true character. Diego could have chosen the path of silent suffering, gone home, and complained to his roommate. He could have chosen petty revenge, accidentally spilling red wine on Mr. Hamilton's expensive suit. But something deeper stirred in him, a sense of justice that transcended his own humiliation. This immigrant story was becoming a true story about integrity in the face of powerlessness. Here's a framework you can use when you're in an impossible situation. Ask yourself, what's the most creative solution that addresses the problem without destroying myself? For Diego, this meant he needed to help the threatened family business without revealing his source or jeopardizing his job. He needed to become what intelligence agencies call a silent asset, influencing outcomes without ever appearing in the story. As Diego cleared their dessert plates, he overheard the final, crucial detail. The family business was Maria's Kitchen, a Mexican restaurant just 3 blocks away that his own Abuela loved. The plan was to launch fake health department complaints starting Monday morning. The timeline gave him just 72 hours to somehow warn them without exposing himself. The clock was ticking, and Diego had no idea how he would pull off this impossible mission. What Diego did next proves that sometimes the quietest people make the most noise in the world. Instead of trying to be a hero with a dramatic confrontation, he used his position as an invisible person to gather more information. On his break, he walked to Maria's Kitchen and saw exactly what he feared: a warm, family-run place with photos of graduation parties and quinceañeras on the walls. Exactly the kind of place these corporate sharks wanted to destroy. The genius of Diego's approach was in its subtlety. He returned to the silver spoon and, during his closing duties, accidentally left his notepad near Table 7's reservation book. On the top page, clearly visible, he'd written in large letters, "Maria's Kitchen. Call Health Dep tomorrow. 555-0187" with the actual health department number. Then he made sure the restaurant manager would find it while closing up. This working-class man was playing chess while the businessmen thought they were playing checkers. If you ever need to convey urgent information anonymously, remember Diego's method. Make it look like an accidental discovery by the right person. Whether it's leaving a printed article where someone will find it, sending an anonymous but detailed letter, or forgetting a document in a strategic location, sometimes indirect communication is safer and more effective than direct confrontation, especially when power imbalances exist. The next day, Diego arrived at work to find the restaurant manager in a heated phone conversation. "I don't care who they are," the manager was saying. "If they're planning to make false health complaints about other restaurants, I don't want their business here." Diego kept his head down, polishing glasses, but inside he was cheering. His silent intervention had worked. The manager had taken the bait and was now morally obligated to act. The human drama was shifting in favor of the underdog. What happened next nobody could have predicted, least of all Diego. Instead of just refusing future reservations from the businessmen, the restaurant manager, a tough Italian immigrant named Tony, decided to take matters into his own hands. He called Maria's Kitchen personally, warned them about the potential sabotage, and then did something extraordinary. He organized a coalition of local restaurant owners to protect each other from corporate bullying. This inspirational twist showed how real life sometimes delivers justice better than any screenplay. The following Friday, Mr. Hamilton and his colleagues returned, expecting their usual table and obsequious service. Instead, Tony himself greeted them at the door. "Gentlemen," he said in a voice that carried across the quiet restaurant, "we don't serve customers who try to destroy other hard-working immigrants' businesses. Your reservations are canceled, permanently." The look on their faces, Diego would later tell his friends, was absolutely priceless. It was a true story moment of poetic justice. Now here's the beautiful life lesson in all this. When you stand up for others, you often end up helping yourself in ways you never expected. Diego's silent courage created a ripple effect that improved his entire work environment. Tony started treating all his staff with more respect, realizing how much they saw and understood. The waitstaff developed a new solidarity, watching out for each other and their community. One act of integrity had transformed an entire workplace culture. But the story wasn't over yet. Maria from Maria's Kitchen came to the Silver Spoon the following week, not as a competitor, but as a grateful neighbor. She asked to thank the waiter who had helped save her family's business, but Diego, true to form, remained anonymous. He simply served her table with extra care, never revealing that he was the invisible man who had overheard the plot. Sometimes the greatest satisfaction comes not from recognition, but from knowing you did the right thing. The final twist in this emotional story came a month later, when Diego was clearing a table and found a folded newspaper someone had left behind. The business section headline read, "Hamilton and Company, under investigation for unethical practices." As he read the article, he discovered that Tony's very public rejection of the businessmen had sparked curiosity among other restaurant owners, leading to multiple complaints and eventually a full investigation. The bullies had been hoisted by their own petard. What's truly remarkable about Diego's storytelling journey is how it demonstrates that the working class holds power they rarely recognize. Their daily presence in the lives of the powerful gives them access to information, and their moral choices with that information can change outcomes in significant ways. Diego wasn't just a waiter. He was a silent guardian of his community's ethics, using his invisibility as a superpower rather than a weakness. If you take one thing from Diego's experience, let it be this: never underestimate the quiet person serving you, cleaning for you, or assisting you. They're not just doing a job, they're observing, learning, and making moral calculations about the world they witness. And sometimes, like Diego, they choose to act with integrity even when it would be easier and safer to stay silent. That's the real inspirational message for all of us. Diego still works at the Silver Spoon, but now with a different kind of confidence. He knows his value extends far beyond taking orders and delivering food. He's part of the invisible network of domestic workers and service employees who see the truth of how people really behave when they think nobody's listening. And in a world full of noise and showmanship, sometimes the quiet observers like Diego are the ones truly holding everything together. So let me ask you directly, who have you been treating as invisible in your life? Which service workers, domestic workers, or working class people have you been speaking in front of as if they're not even there? And more importantly, what would change if you knew they understood every word and were making moral judgments about your character based on what they hear? I want you to do a quick audit of your own behavior. When you're in a restaurant, on the phone in an Uber, or discussing sensitive matters in front of cleaners, are you showing the basic respect of remembering that these are human beings with full cognitive abilities? Tell me in the comments. Have you ever been in Diego's position, overhearing something you weren't meant to, and what did you do about it? Remember this powerful truth: the people serving you are not just performing tasks. They're witnessing your character, listening to your conversations, and forming opinions about who you really are. Your treatment of service workers isn't just about getting good service. It's about what kind of person you're choosing to be when you think nobody who matters is watching. If this message hit home for you, if it made you uncomfortable about your own behavior, or opened your eyes to the human drama playing out in every service interaction, then do something about it right now. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we share real, raw stories like this every week. We're building a community of people who believe that everyone deserves dignity, especially those we pay to serve us.